I guess we'll just do, I guess we can do 531 and 532. Pretty quiet room. I'm waiting. (6:30), April 6, 2023. Tonight, the Board of Appeals will be hearing two cases. Okay. One for yes, St. John's and Congress. The Lewis Street has been postponed, if anyone's here for that. So we will be hearing case number 531 first, at this time, anyone who wishes to speak, at this hearing, please stand for the oath. Raise your right hand. Do you hereby solemnly declare or affirm under penalties of perjury that your responses given and statements made will be the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Yeah. Thank you. You can be seated. The codified ordinances of the Mayor and City Council for the City of Havre de Grace specifies procedures governing the operation of the Board of Appeals for the City of Havre de Grace. Section 3 dictates administrative requirements to be met prior to the hearing. This includes advertising, posting the property, and notification of applicable property owners. Have these items been met?
They have.
Thank you. Have you heard from any interested parties?
No.
No? Okay. Thank you. Oh, yeah, you're right. I got to do that one too. Yeah, the ordinances governing the operation of the Board of Appeals for the city, it is a matter of public record and is available at City Hall should anyone wish to review it. The applicant tonight is requesting a zoning variance. And first, we would like to hear from the Department of Plannings. Please remember to state your name and your address.
Tim Borsier, Director of Planning, 711 Pennington Avenue, Havre de Grace 21078. The first case we're hearing tonight is 531. It's a lot line adjustment on 3 non-conforming lots. The lots will remain non-conforming after the lot line adjustments, and they'll require a variance in order to be approved. So the request is variance from the zoning lot specifications in the RB zoning district. They'll be revised to allow for future improvements, but they'll still remain non-conforming. We're talking about 3 different addresses here, so it's 347, 349 Congress, and then the existing building known as Old Ordinary at 100 St. John Street. As mentioned, the zoning is RB. The lots are all non-conforming under the Table 1 in the zoning code. That's our lot specification table. There's a minimum of 10,000 square feet required, or 5,000 square feet with a conditional use approval. The property's been vacant for more than 2 years, so there's no opportunity to rebuild per Chapter 205-3, which allows redevelopment. It's our grandfathering provisions. And the total lot coverage cannot exceed 60% of the lot size. So for the Congress Avenue properties, they're pretty small. Currently, 347 is 1,316 square feet, and 349 is 1,470 square feet. So it's not really practical to build on those 2 properties with a 60% lot coverage rule. So they're requesting a variance. There's 4 findings that we have to look at when we review variances, and that's under 25-17C. So I'll just go through those briefly. The Board of Appeals shall not grant a request for a variance unless the board finds that because of a certain unique physical condition such as irregularity, narrowness, shallowness of a lot size and shape, or exceptional topographical conditions peculiar to and inherent in the particular lot, there is no reasonable possibility in pursuing the proposed use or developing the lot in strict conformance with the zoning regulations. So as I mentioned, the 2 lots on Congress Avenue, they're abnormally small and shallow. If we strictly adhere to the zoning code with setback rules and the 60% maximum lot coverage requirements, those 2 properties wouldn't be developable. Adjusting the lot lines will allow the properties to become developable and become closer to conforming to city code. So these lot line adjustments are an improvement to the situation, although they don't match exactly. There's no effect on the St. John property since that existing structure will remain. The current non-conforming lot will remain non-conforming after lot line adjustments. But it's important to note that if you look at the let me see which exhibit it is here. On Exhibit 1, you can see the lot. So you can see that 100 St. John Street goes all the way back to Strawberry Lane behind those 2 properties. So really, we're just kind of taking that empty space and adding it on to 349 and 347 Congress. So we're just we're making the lots more regular for all 3 of them. Number 2, because of exceptional circumstances other than financial considerations, the granting of a variance is necessary to avoid practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship and to enable the applicant to pursue the proposed use or development of the lot. Again, granting this variance will allow construction on these now more normal-sized single-family, on these normal-sized lots and allow normal-sized homes. It's necessary to avoid practical difficulties on these small lots, and a hardship would exist if we strictly followed the code in this instance. Number 3, that literal enforcement of the ordinance would result in practical difficulty or unreasonable hardship. Again, literal enforcement of the ordinance would make the properties likely undevelopable. And granting the relief requested would not do substantial injury to the public health, safety, and general welfare, and is the minimum necessary relief to permit the petitioner's use of the lot. Granting the variance would allow the development of 2 single-family homes on the Congress Avenue properties, as there was a house previously up to 2020 on 349 Congress. Yes, that's right, 349 Congress. And there's a mix of residential and businesses in the surrounding neighborhood, so this type of development wouldn't do substantial injury to the public health, safety, or general welfare of the community. It's the minimum relief necessary. So we recommend approval of the variance. We have to be kind of strict in the language of the variances. and they're sort of different for each property. So for 347 Congress Avenue, they need a variance from the city code to allow a lot line adjustment from a non-conforming lot to another non-conforming lot. Variance from the lot width standards in the RB district from 50 feet, they're going to have 49 feet, so they'll just be 1 foot short. Variance from the 15-foot front yard setback to a 0 setback. That is already required under the code anyway for Congress, Union, and one of the other streets. A couple years back, they wanted to bring all those homes up to the lot line, so everything was sort of uniform down the street. So that would be allowed anyway, but it would be a variance in this case. And a variance from the 25-foot rear yard setback to allow a 15-foot setback. For 349 Congress Avenue, again, from a lot line adjustment from a non-conforming lot to another non-conforming lot. A variance from the lot width standards in the RB district from 50 feet to 47.8. And again, both the front and rear yard setbacks, 0 in the front and 15-foot setback in the rear. And then for 100 St. John Street, there would be a variance from the city code to allow a non-conforming lot to another non-conforming lot. The following additional recommendations are based off of section 2517D of the code that says in authorizing a variance, the board may impose such conditions regarding the location, character, and other features of the proposed structure or use as it may deem necessary, consistent with the purposes of this article and chapter 205 zoning and the laws of the state applicable thereto. No variance shall exceed the minimum adjustment necessary to relieve the hardship imposed by literal enforcement of chapter 205. The board may require such guarantee or bond as it may deem necessary to ensure compliance with the conditions imposed. We're not recommending bonds or anything like that, but we do have these 5 items that we listed here. So any conditional uses or variances beyond what was discussed earlier on the previous page for the recommendations for the variances would need to come back to the Board of Appeals for review. That the variance approval and Board of Appeal numbers have to be noted on the final plats once the lot line adjustments are done. The structure on 100 St. John Street is historically significant, and the former house at 349 Congress, it was in bad condition and it needed to be torn down, but it did have some historic significance to it. There's a bit of a story behind it that I read on the historic Havre de Grace website. So we're just asking that the applicants meet with the Historic Preservation Commission prior to building any homes, just to get ideas about design and how to make it fit within the historic fabric of the community. Capital cost recovery fees for water and sewer connections and other infrastructure has to be paid before receiving a building permit. And these are in the Chesapeake Bay critical area. So there has to be mitigation for any of the building there that takes over pervious space, so the mitigation is required. So those are our additional 5 conditions that we recommend on top of the recommendations for those different variance approvals. I'll take any questions if you have them.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Okay. Thank you very much. Next, we'd like to hear from the applicant or the applicant's representatives.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Clark Turner, 508 Commerce Street. I'm Alan's father-in-law, and my history with this property goes back a long way. 5 years ago, a local attorney, Elwood Stark, owned this property, and the corner property, the 347 and the 349. We spent the better part of a year trying to get a house on that he was comfortable living in. And in the end, he saw with that small lot, it was not possible and walked away and didn't move back to Havre de Grace, so we lost a good citizen there. What we have today, I'd like to say, is where 2 + 2 = 5. You have 2 different property owners came together, exchanged some land, and it took a undevelopable 2 lots and made them where they are developable, challenging but developable. So that's what we have before you today. And this highlighted area I'd show you might help you understand. The yellow lines are the old lots. See how small they were. If you go to your exhibit, the old house, you will see it actually went over those lines. So it's very challenging. what we're doing now, two orange ones, which are nearly doubling the size, but still making it challenging. Yellow were the small lots before, the oranges are the lots that we created. And I'm also working with a buyer who lived in Havre de Grace and now wants to come back to Havre de Grace, grew up here on one of the lots. They're actually here tonight. I'm working on the next lot in with another person who lived in Havre de Grace, left Havre de Grace, wants to come back. And I've been able to design houses that fit within these new lot lines. Challenging because of the angle, we made something go back, but we have more than 5 foot in the sides. We actually aren't using the full 15 feet in the back. So it is challenging. The only thing that I see that I'd like to ask the planning staff around that I thought we might have requested, but maybe we didn't, is that you're allowed with conditional use to have a 50% impervious. Is that something we can do as part of this hearing?
Well, yeah, it should be. But I think you're actually one better on this one because,
You think we can do the 60?
yeah, I mean, the lot lines will, I guess once you change the lot lines, you would lose the lot of record, but we can do 50 as part of the conditional use request. We didn't do the special exception findings for this case, was normally we had to do, but variances are usually stricter, and we were kind of going under the idea of the lot of record ordinance that they would need that they would have 60% coverage. So if that's not the case, 50% obviously would be less anyway. So the department would be okay with that.
Okay, thank you.
So-
So what I think we end up with here is houses that are more consistent up to the front line, houses that you see along Congress Avenue up there. So it's not out of character with the street, and we have no problem with the conditions that the city has set. And I don't want to give the arguments and spend time with what the planning staff has, but we agree with that report. So with that, if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Okay.
You need to state your name and address, sir.
I did.
I didn't hear that.
I'm sorry, it's Clark Turner, 508 Commerce Street.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, I see from your plan that you do not have any off-street parking.
No.
Isn't that a condition?
There wasn't before with the 2 lots.
I think this is outside of this is south of Bourbon Street, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's outside of our off-street parking. Parking would be required. We'd seen the lot lines, but I hadn't seen actually what you had just showed for the site plans yet, which is okay. But I think off-street parking would be required, but we would require that under the building permit process.
Yes, off-street parking. Thank you.
Off-street parking, could the off-street parking be a driveway coming up to the front of the house?
Yes, I think it's 2 or 3. These don't have a garage, I guess.
No.
Yeah.
If you put a garage in the house.
Yeah, the driveway would count.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. We can do that.
Okay.
Anything else?
Other questions?
Thank you. Thank you.
Parking will be a requirement then?
Yes. Yes, that's correct.
Because that's a bit out of character with most of the houses along there.
Mm-hmm.
Not much off-street parking, although PCH has some driveway up the street.
Yeah, I mean, in some cases, before the zoning code was developed or whatever, people don't have driveways, but yeah, there's pretty strict off-street parking provisions now.
It's not a problem
Yeah.
to have off-street parking there.
Right, and we normally count driveways. I mean, that's part of the practice. So like when if it's a 1-car garage, but you can fit 2 in your driveway, then that's 3 spots. So I'd have to look to see what the off-street parking requirements are for single family in this area. But yeah, driveways would count. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak in reference to this hearing?
his question was that, because of the house being tore down, the water and sewer fees would not be waived on the one lot because it has not been 3 years.
There's time. There should be time. I have to look to see what the rule is, but yeah, if it's 3 years, then there's still time. But the lot on 349, 347 Congress, the one that didn't have a house on it, there would be a capital cost recovery fee for that. Okay.
Okay, thank you. At this time, the board will adjourn and discuss your testimony, and we'll come back with a decision.
Just while you're adjourned, just remember that there's now a conditional use approval on the table to allow the different lot specifications in RB. So we have that weird conditional use thing where single family in an RB district is normally 40%, and there's a certain setbacks, but you can ask for a conditional use approval. We've done a bunch of those.
All right, so this is a conditional use and a variance?
Yep.
Is there two? Okay, there'll be
Yep.
two requests that they're asking for
requests,
this.
yep.
Okay. It's 6:55. The board is back in session. Do we have a motion?
Yes, I motion that we follow all the recommendations the Department of Planning recommended on the lot variances and the readjustments of the line, as well as all the conditional uses that they labeled in 1 through 5. In addition, we allow that the conditional use occupy 50% of the property and that there will be off-street parking available for each housing unit.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Being all are in favor of this request, the Board of Appeals has approved your request. Thank you. You're welcome. Let's see here. 5:32. Do we have to swear everyone in? We
Yes.
do. Yeah, we gotta start that.
everyone in. You're good.
Yeah, okay. All right, let's see. Let me just grab that out of the way. 5, 2. Existing extension of. The time is 6:57. It's April 6, 2023. We're going to hear case number 532, which is a request for a new permit or a extension of a existing permit. At this time, anyone wishing to speak at this hearing, please stand for the oath. Raise your right hand. Do you hereby solemnly declare or affirm under penalties of perjury that your responses given and statements made will be the truth and nothing but the truth? Yes. Thank you. You can be seated. The codified zoning ordinances of the Mayor and City Council of Havre de Grace specifies procedures governing the operation of the Board of Appeals for the city. Section 3 dictates administrative requirements to be met prior to the hearing. This includes advertising, posting the property, and notification of applicable property owners. Have these items been met?
They have.
Thank you. The ordinances governing the operation of the Board of Appeals for the city is a matter of public record and is available at City Hall should anyone wish to review it. The applicant tonight again is requesting a new permit or an extension for the existing permit. At this time, we'd like to hear from the Department of Planning.
Thank you. Tim Borsier,
Yes.
Director of Planning, 711 Pennington Avenue. So this is case 532. So technically, there's really 3 items that the Board of Appeals looks at. So it's administrative reviews of administrative decisions, special exceptions or conditional uses, and variances. So this is actually review an administrative decision. We permitted, and I'll go into this a little bit deeper, but the summary is we permitted temporary storage units at this site. We're only allowed really to do that for 1 year under the code. That time has expired. There was an extension applied for. We denied that extension, and so the request is to review our denial, our decision to deny that. So this is for Horizon Services LLC at 908 Pulaski Highway. Currently, there's about a 37,000 square foot building. 37,000 square foot land area with a 4,800 square foot structure. The applicant is requesting a new permit or the extension of a permit to allow temporary storage containers on the subject property for an additional 18 to 24 months from the date of this application. The Department of Planning has denied the permit application and the request for this extension of the existing permit. So again, this property is being used for Horizon Services. They're an HVAC company. The zoning is in the RB residential district. In attachment 3, you have the surrounding zoning. So directly next to that is commercial zoning on Pulaski Highway, residential business to the east and north, and then residential to the south of the subject property. Where the temporary storage containers lie are nearest to the RB and the R2 residential zoning districts to the east and south. So background, Mr. Brown, who's the owner of WCB Investments, which is the owner of the property, applied for a permit for Level Services HVAC, which is now Horizon Services, for 6 temporary storage containers. The request was made because Level Services was looking to stockpile their inventory and avoid supply chain issues related to COVID-19 pandemic. The permit allowance for this is sort of a weird spot. It's actually under our fee ordinance. So it's not anywhere else in the code. We have a definition of temporary storage containers under our fee ordinance because we have a permit that goes along with them. So that section states temporary storage containers referenced in this fee schedule pertain to storage units limited in use to a maximum of a 1-year period starting on the day of delivery. Any permit obtained for temporary storage unit shall expire after 1 year of the date of issuance. And that's in attachment 4 of your file. So Level Services received a 1-year permit, and that permit stated that the containers would be removed no later than September 14th, 2022. Upon expiration of the permit, we went to the property and we noted that the containers were still there. They're still there today. There have been 2 that were removed, so there's only 4 that are remaining. We contacted Mr. Brown and Mr. Granger with Horizon Services, and they requested the extension, which in turn we denied because the planning department doesn't believe that we have the authority to permit these longer than 1 year. So the applicable sections, again, are Chapter 70, which is the fee ordinance of the city code, and Chapter 25, which allows this body to review administrative decisions. Again, under Section 70-3 of the city code, it permits that temporary storage containers are not allowed for longer than 1 year. There's no provisions in the code that allow for a special exception or a variance from those conditions. Under Section 2517A, says that this board can have an administrative review can be granted when the Board of Appeal finds that from the evidence of record that the final order, requirement, decision, or determination, which is the subject of the appeal, was clearly erroneous or not in accordance with the law. The decision by the department to deny the extension request and new permit application are in line with Chapter 70 of City Code. We do not believe there was a clear error, and we believe the decision was in accordance with the law. Variances discussed in Chapter 25 of the City Code focus on hardships and unique physical attributes, those things that we just talked about in the last case. So it focuses on hardship or unique physical attributes of a property that require deviation from the strict adherence of the City Code for those special situations. We have not, we haven't seen that there was any demonstrated hardship to date. Financial hardships are not a consideration for a variance. That's specific under Chapter 25 in the findings. I believe number 2 says that if there's a hardship, it has to be something that's not a financial hardship. And there's other options that are available. For instance, the applicant could construct a permanent storage structure that meets the accessory structure requirements of the zoning district. They could also utilize an existing self-storage facility. There may be other options were available. Those were just a couple things that we were showing that there was other options than just this. Special exceptions and conditional uses don't offer relief, but we thought that we would just review those special exception items because they talk about 10 very important things about how these things you analyze how they would affect the community. So we looked at those items in 27B, and we noticed some issues. So number 1, it's not a permissible special exception, which we already mentioned. It doesn't comply with the development standards for the district. Continued allowance of the temporary storage units could negatively affect the peaceful enjoyment and economic value of the surrounding residential properties to the south and the subject property. The containers are not in harmony with the general character of the neighborhood, and the applicant previously demonstrated a need for the containers, but now issues caused by COVID-19 pandemic have subsided. The department does not believe that a demonstrated use still exists. So if a special exception was allowed in this, if it was a potential opportunity for relief to get a special exception, which it's not, but if it was, we would recommend denial just based on reviewing those findings under 2517B. So the storage containers were placed there during COVID-19 pandemic, filled with equipment to avoid any slowdowns due to supply chain issues. They've currently been there for 18 months, so 6 months longer than the original permit allowed, while we've been going through this process. The department empathizes with the business and the property owners concerning the situation, but we don't really have the ability under the city code to allow an extension longer than 1 year. That's clearly stated in Chapter 70 under the fees. And we didn't see any other options under Chapter 4 or Article 4, Chapter 25, which is the powers that that this body has to provide an extension for that permit. So based on that analysis of Chapter 70 and Chapter 25, we recommend denial of the applicant's request and that you find that there was no clear error by the Department of Planning. We would then recommend 10 days from the issuance of if you agree with our recommendation, that 10 days from that you would order that those containers be removed. We did receive, I had a phone call with, 2 phone calls with a Mr. Daryl Joyner. I believe he's here tonight to speak on his own behalf. So I'll let him do that. But we also received 2 emails. I'll pass these around to everybody so they're on record. I have more copies for people in the audience if they're interested. We received one from the owner of Play Place America at 880 Otsego Street. She said, "Good afternoon. I'm sending this email to address the issues that I expressed to you in my phone call earlier today." She had spoke with our associate planner, Eric Lawrence. "We're a child care center located at 880 Otsego Street, and we have some concerns about the containers staying because it brings unwanted activity to the area. At times, there have been people sleeping between them. We've noticed more trash in the area, and people are often using the areas in between for undesirable activities." So I'll pass those around for the record. We have another one from Mr. Donald Temple. It says, "My name is Donald Temple, and I write to you on behalf of Miss Veronica Morris, my aunt and co-trustee of the property located at 926 Warren Street. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on the pending application to extend the permit for temporary storage units at 908 Pulaski Highway. Our Warren Street property is located directly across the street from the applicant's business, which directly impacts our property value and aesthetics. While management of the business has been cordial, we underscore the imposition of these storage units and our effort to keep the Warren Street community, an already mixed-use neighborhood, presentable and marketable. We have not objected to COVID-based authorization and variances to allow the space to be used now for more than a year. Notably, no one from the business communicated with us during that time to mitigate the imposition. At issue is the manner in which the city government protects residential property. Additional authorization for 2 more years tips the scale against protecting homeowners in the city and sets a bad precedent. The small area of Havre is changing due to housing development and increased residences. These issues are not soft, but rather serious, and the presence of these very large-sized storage units lends little to maintaining the community's character and integrity. We respect the business interest at hand, but allow in effect more than 3-year variance is unjustified. A special exception for 24 months coupled with a 12 to 18-month permit variance defeats the purpose of the law and the protection that it intends. Hopefully you take our view into consideration." And I'll pass those around as well. That's it from the Department of Planning. Thank you, unless you have any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Fine, then next we will hear from the applicant or the applicant's representatives.
Hello, my name's William Brown. I'm the owner of 908 Pulaski Highway and former owner of Level Home Services. I'm going to speak first just to tell you my story, why we purchased them, and then Mr. Granger can tell the rest of the story, why he still needs them. We are a residential heating, air conditioning, and a plumbing company. Pre-COVID, I think COVID's has been put a lot of emphasis on this, but it's really the supply chain. When somebody calls us and they have no heat, no air conditioning, no hot water, typically pre this time, we'd order a unit, be in the next morning, bam, we put in the next day for them, and they're back to living. That's not no more. I own another business that it took us 9 months to get a unit. It's just not that way anymore. So we got it strategically in order to service companies, the community, try to figure out what the best most popular units are that we can get, that we can stock so we can get back in there. Without that, we're done. So as far as addressing the homeless sleeping there and all that, I've never seen that. I really think those, well, I won't say that. But I know when we came there, when I purchased the property from Mr. Les McFadden, it was an empty project there. A lot of you know the history of what was going on at the previous businesses. There was people out there doing drugs, everything else. We don't see that anymore. I mean, we cleaned it up. We keep the place clean. It is a commercial property. It's zoned commercial, so it's on Route 40. So that part, it is what it is. And there certainly still is a supply chain issue, and that's basically what I wanted to say. I'll let Grant talk the rest of it.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Grant Granger, 400 Township Road, Oxford, PA 19363. I brought a bunch of pictures with me. I echo what Mr. Brown said with regards to supply chain issues, and consistently it's been getting harder and harder to find units and get next day installs to help people with no heat, no cool, and no hot water. So they have been important to the business of being able to get, when you can, purchase the units and store them. We have a lot of stuff inside the building, but it's just too small to hold enough. I had emailed Mr. Boursier, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, it's not an easy one.
A few times, asking just for clarity around the situation, and I understand everything that you said, and it makes sense. My concern is that it feels like we're not being treated the same as everybody else. And when I say that, maybe out the front door, if you look towards the ball field, you'll see there's a shipping container that's been right there next to the sidewalk for more than a year. And they just sat another one right around the corner of the fence. And I've got over 20 pictures within a mile of where we are with containers that look horrible. People are living on them. There's boats behind them. There's tractor and trailers with tires falling out and permanent steps built up to them right across the street from our shop. We can see it says U.S. Mail, and it runs from the liquor store over to the used tire shop, and it's been there for years. And I feel like ours, which are all of the same color, in a line, they're sitting level, they're square with the property, I feel like they're not a nuisance to the neighborhood. They are a necessity, and the letter that I sent over basically said that as soon as we can get rid of them, we will. They are not friendly to go out there every morning and open up and close. Those handles are heavy, and they're not lit. There's no electricity out there. They're not convenient to use. And we were able to get rid of 2 of them, and we did right away. And we planted grass down there, and we put straw down there, and we will get the rest of them out there as soon as we can. And I'm just down here just stating the case, that's all. I mean, we're going to do wherever you decide. And I hope that if the answer is get them out of there, we have a lot longer than 10 days, because there's a lot of stuff to move. That's the other thing that I was thinking about. Any questions for me?
Okay, questions? Anyone? Is it feasible to build a permanent structure, and is there enough square footage on the property to do that?
We are renting.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, we're leasing off of Mr. Brown, WCB Investments.
So I did ask in a off conversation with somebody at the permit center, I did ask them about like for a lack of better words, a black bear structure, a portable building that we could put up there. And they said that it wasn't, as long as it had rain gutters on it, it was approved with the non-pervious, pervious ratio and like that for the size that would have to go on there. So, I mean, if that's what we have to do in the future, I don't want to lay out $20,000 for one, but, and then not have it for future use.
Right.
But, that is the other option we have.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other place you can store your equipment locally?
So we currently get equipment from Baltimore location and Wilmington location.
Right.
So what's in these shipping containers, there's extension ladders that got stolen, there's water heaters, ladders that got stolen, so now they're secure. There's water heaters in there, there's air conditioners and furnaces that are most common size, so that if somebody doesn't have heat or cool, we can help them as soon as possible. And not, even just as early as today, we'd had to run to King of Prussia, Pennsylvania for a coil, and over to New Jersey for 2 air conditioners to support local clients.
Okay, but I'm asking you, have you researched anywhere else locally to store your equipment? There are empty buildings around there, might be another place to find?
Yeah, we have not to this point.
Okay. Other questions? All right, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Bill Walchin. I live in Havre de Grace at 352 Giles Street. I'm also the warehouse manager for Level Horizon on site. I just wanted to confirm that those containers are painted the same color as the building. They're kept clean. They are always locked at night. There is no accessibility to those containers by any outside people. Yes, sometimes there's garbage bags that are left there. They're pulled from the bong shop or whatever and tossed or whatever, some paperwork. We're very conscious of being a good neighbor. We walk the property every single day. I see our neighbors over here. We're constantly picking up, little alcohol bottles, and you can appreciate everything else that gets tossed there from across the street, either at the liquor store or from Royal Farms or from the 7-Eleven. Any place, again, is going to be something that you have to be concerned about. But I just want to let this board know that we are very conscious of that as being a good neighbor. Those containers are extremely important during this current season, if you will, or availability to help our clients in a next day situation. And again, like the owner and Grant, the operations manager, has mentioned, in a situation where you're just not looking at a one-piece replacement, okay? Just so there's many choices in many homes and many variances that come into play, both with heating and cooling, these units. It's not like you can keep one and go down the street and grab it from somebody. You just can't do that. And the answer is, yeah, we've started to explore, where else can we possibly put stuff. The stack and store is not the answer. If you get a 20 by 20 box down there, the accessibility to that is horrible. It just is. But again, I can assure this board that we protect those containers. If I see somebody there, we have probably 6 outside cameras. We have 2 in the warehouse that I directly look at that container. Every single minute of the day, it clicks back and forth to container in our own loading dock. If there's something that's not agreeable to any of us, I go out and take care of it personally. Again, I've chased a couple of people, walking or whatever, but again, that's just normal behavior stuff. But again, I just want to let you know that we are very conscious of being a good neighbor. We constantly pick up sticks, we pick up garbage, we do whatever. Those containers are painted the same color as the building. And I'm sure you've all been by it and you see where they are. They're all directly right next to each other. And they look very appropriate. As Grant mentioned, the other selections of businesses, whether it be Route 40 or Revolution or whatever, that have this mismatch of trailers and, Connex boxes and whatever. The hotel has 2 Connex boxes behind it, right on Route 40. Bizarre. They have a green one and a red one behind their building. Again, we have no idea what that's used for, but again, ours are conforming to the area that we have. So again, I just wanted to let you know that's where we are right
Well,
now.
we appreciate it. We also want you to know that it is not our job to regulate or to look at any other any other issues unless they're brought before us. So if there are issues, and I'm sure that there are many of them around, that's something to bring up with the city and not this board. But we do appreciate your.
I understand that completely,
Okay.
but I know you all drive the same roads as I do.
Yep.
And you look at the same things that I do every single day. I'm a resident, I've been here for 13 years. So I'm very conscious of the changes in Havre de Grace and what's going on. And again, so we're all in this together.
Okay, well, we appreciate it.
But thank you.
I have one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you guys lease those trailers, or did you
Leased.
purchase them?
No, they are leased. When we had 6, as mentioned, we got rid of 2 last fall. We were able to consolidate. Our plan is to keep consolidating. If we can get it from, 4 to 3 to 2 in any period of time, that's our goal. Immediately when those trailers were pulled out, I put soil, I put grass seed, and I put hay across that area. So it was totally protected. And I think our neighbor might agree to that or might not. But again, that area was protected for that whole period of time. But that's our game plan, to continue to reduce that footprint that's out there.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on behalf of the applicant? Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Please come forward.
Good afternoon. My name is Daryl Joyner. I live at 918 Warren Street in Havre de Grace there. I am very, very concerned about those containers being there. I have 5 partials there. I have 5 properties there. I have 918. I'm the owner of 920 Warren Street, 916, 913, and the adjacent building that is next to them. I'm also a lifelong resident of Warren Street, so I see day-to-day operations over there. And my home, out of my front door, it's about 50 yards where I see these containers every day. So to tell me that I'm very, very concerned as far as my property value with those containers there. And I think it has done nothing for my community over there where I grew up. I've been there trying to maintain, do my best to keep it looking as best as I can. And it doesn't do anything to enhance the area. And I think it's unfair to us who live there. I think it's unfair to the citizens of Havre de Grace because things do go on in the community. I'm there 24 hours, 7 days a week. So I see after business hours. It's not always occurrence, but there are things that do occur. It's not a fenced-in area. I have noticed in between, the gentleman did speak of the trash that was being taken from the tobacco shop. It's a highly trafficked area. It's a area that we just had maybe 40 homes built behind us there. I think Habitat for Humanity is in the process of building more homes on Ohio Street. So it's a highly traveled area as far as community is concerned, youth are concerned. So I've had to call for service there over the years, but specifically for the youth playing around those containers, being on top of the containers, being in between those containers. So it truly has affected my quality of life. It has. I personally went out and asked people to leave the area, but that's not my responsibility. Their supply chain is not my responsibility. My responsibility is to be a good citizen of Havre de Grace, maintain that area the best I possibly can, the best I've had, and it hasn't done anything to enhance that area. So I would ask this board to please have those containers removed.
Thank you.
And I appreciate your time for allowing me to come before this board.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
All right, any questions? All right, at 7:25, the board will adjourn and discuss in deliberation here. Okay. Back in session, and we have, do we have a motion?
I have a motion that we also accept the planning commission's ability that we do not have the ability to extend or issue a new permit. We do allow 30 days for the removal of the storage and the emptying of the containers.
Do we have a second?
Sure.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye, aye. We've come to a decision to deny your request. and we've given you 30 days to remove the containers. Sorry about that, and good luck. What's that?
Can I ask a question?
Oh, sure.
If the containers are removed and trailers are backed in there, which are on wheels, does that become acceptable?
That's something you have to talk to the city about.
Not
Yeah,
us.
we're just here about your containers.
Sure.
That's our only part, yeah.
Okay, well then I will ask that question. If they are replaced with 4 trailers, is that acceptable?
To be in line with all the ones down Route 40.
Everybody else has them, we could just put in 4 trailers.
I think we're
Yeah,
good
I'm
here.
not sure off the top of my head if that would be considered temporary storage or not. I get what you're saying, but
Where can I find that description?
it's the temporary storage definition. Yeah, it's the temporary storage definitions under Chapter 70 fees. It's one of the definitions under that section. Okay.
So, Bill,
I'm sorry?
it's the same, they're just not enforcing it.
On the rec
In
fields,
30 other
they
places
all
within
have
2 miles.
storage, whether that's approved or not.
You know what? When he said that, I thought, that one at the high school's been there for, I don't know how long, probably years. I didn't even think about it. Yeah, we'll make that decision also. Yeah.
How was Thanksgiving over there?
Said, or somebody said.